Why should you collect cards? Is collecting a good or bad thing? And what life lessons can we learn from collecting sports cards or building a PC? This video is going to go through the 7 principles of collecting. There's not going to be any editing in this. It's just going to be a straight shot. So there's no intro, there's no viewer comments at the end. Just stay to the end. You're going to learn all 7 elements. What I decided to do was I'm putting out basically my collection at this point. Still working on it, but again, this is basically what I've got. But here's what I want to do. I want to make sure that everybody understands like why you should even consider collecting. If you're a parent, why should you get your kids into collecting? If you're new to collecting, what are you supposed to do? So we're going to go over the 7 elements or the 7 principles of collecting. And so I want to get into the first one, and I wrote them down because there's no editing here, there's no graphics, there's no nothing. So here we go. The first one is direction. So the first principle of collecting is called direction. And what I mean by direction is you have to know where you're going. What are you going to collect? Are you going to collect a specific team? Are you going to collect a specific player, a specific sport, a specific card company? Like, are you going to only collect Topps? You're going to only collect Panini? You're going to only collect Upper Deck? It depends on what you want to do. So the first principle of collecting always comes down to direction. What do you want to collect? And that's the question that you need to answer in order to get yourself started. But once you pick a direction, what's the second thing? So the second principle of collecting is called research. Now, what do I mean by research? Research is all about deciding where you want to go. So you pick the direction. Okay, I want to pick a specific player, but now you got to go to the actual cards. You got to go and research all the cards of that player. And now you have to say, oh, okay, these are the players, these are the cards that I want. And you want to write them all down. That's part of research. Writing things down is part of research. And I know a lot of you hate to write things down. I know a lot of you don't like spreadsheets, don't like making lists, but this is the key to collecting. You need to start making lists so that you know what you want when you go to a card show, when you know what you want when you go on eBay or any online seller. Because if you don't have a list, you end up buying stuff that you don't want. And why would you want to do that? Why do you want to waste your money on stuff that you don't want? All right, so we got through principle number 1. We got through principle number 2. I know there's probably plenty more that you want to know about those things. So if you do, just put a question down in the comments and I'll get to it in a later episode. So we got principle 1, that's direction. Principle 2 is research. So what's principle number 3? Here we go. It is resources. Now, what do I mean by resources? Again, put all these labels on it and you have no idea what I'm talking about. So principle number 3 is resources, and that means how much money you have to spend. How much money are you going to spend? How much money are you going to budget for your PC? How much money are you going to spend overall? Because if you don't pick a number, you end up doing what Jeff Wilson does, which is he just spends money and he doesn't know where it's going. Or the sports card dad who literally almost put himself homeless because he just spent more money than he had. You have to make a budget. You have to declare your resources for your collection. So how much money are you going to spend? And then when you go back to your list, remember you've done your research, go back to your list and say, okay, which cards can I afford? Or which cards do I really want? And you can do a priority list. These are the ones that I want now, based on my research, based on my resources, based on my budget. These are the cards that I want right now. All right. Now, once we get through the first 3, okay, so we've got through direction, we got through research, we got through resources. Here comes principle number 4, and this is the most fun part of collecting. Absolutely everybody agrees with me on this one. So part 4, principle number 4 is purchasing. And this is when we actually go and buy the cards. And so what I figured I would do is I would show you some of the cards in my collection just so you can see, like, this is the fun part. This is like when you go and buy the cards. Now, I've collected all of this stuff over the course of 40 years. So what I paid for cards is not present day $2024 again. So that's another thing. Understand inflation is up pretty much about 40% for, well, it's actually doubled since when I started buying cards. So everything you can take with a grain of salt as to how much I spent on these cards. But if you want to do estimates, you certainly can. So what I'm going to do is I've already shown you guys most of the Gary Carters that I have. Gary Carter's one of my favorite players. And so again, in terms of direction, I wanted to collect Mets. I wanted to collect all 4 sports, so baseball, hockey, basketball, and football. I didn't want all of the cards. Like, I don't want every player from every sport. That's crazy. I don't want that big a collection. But the majority of my collection is in baseball. And so these are the Gary Carters. So I'm going to bring them up just so we can do this. All right, so those are the Gary Carters. Then I'm going to go through the 70s, just so, because I'm doing decade by decade. So I'm just going to show you some of the 70s cards. This one's interesting. So this is the Kirk Gibson home run, and with Freddie Freeman hitting that grand slam in the World Series, that was, you know, it kind of harkens back to that big shot back in the 80s. So anyway, so those are just some of the I guess junk wax era or before junk wax era. So let's look at some 90s stuff, or let's see. Oh, you know what? I can do some of the Mets stuff. Let's do Mets here. All right, so that's all purchasing. Again, I think you get it. That's the fun part, is actually buying all your cards and then, you know, putting them together and doing this. So what happens after you buy all your cards? Because I've got a ton. I mean, I've got cards in this. I've got cards here. I got cards in this. I've also got cards and tickets here. So, you know, just to give you an idea of, so these are some of the tickets. So here we go. We got Yankees. We got the U.S. Open tennis. This is the All-Star game from '92. Here's the World Series from '91. This is the Rangers Stanley Cup run. This is the Giants. Here's one you don't see all the time. That's the Jersey Generals. And then you've got from the Nets. When they went, this is the only 2 times they ever went to the finals. And then here's from the Nets. This is signed by Buck Williams. And then here's old Garden tickets. So this is old school. This is the way they used to do tickets in the Garden. So anyway, so you got all of these different things. Here's a Jets one with the Steelers, just so you guys can see like what old tickets used to look like. So here we go. So anyway, what do you do after you purchase your cards? And so we're going to get into the 5th principle of collecting, which is curating. So what does curating really mean? Curating means making decisions. What are you going to keep and what are you going to get rid of? this is at the moment pretty much my collection. That's what I've been able to do. I've been able to decide this is the stuff I'm keeping, at least for now. I may even pare down even more because kind of this is still a lot. I don't know if I could get everything to fit into 3 cases. I thought maybe I could get everything to fit into 2 cases, but clearly I can't. I just have too many cards. I also have, so just so we're aware and figured I would also mention this, this is the box of all the cards that I'm going to get graded. So if you can see, I got all of these cards. Okay, so there's a few hundred cards, probably around, if I had to estimate here, I'd say there's probably about 600 to 700 cards here, less than 1,000. But all of these are gonna be graded. So I have my top 1955 cards that are gonna get graded because again, you wanna grade cards that are worth more than $500. Honestly, you wanna grade cards that are worth more than $500. Anything under $500 is really your choice. So here we go. We got Duke, we got Jackie, we got Hank. Oop. Okay, we've got the Koufax rookie, we got the Clemente rookie, we got an Aaron, and we got Yogi Berra. So you wanna grade your best cards, and these are also the kind of the best condition cards. Like I would say these are probably going to be at least 3s or 4s, maybe even, like I think the Duke might even get a 5, maybe close to a 6. So again, when you get vintage cards graded and you're going to be grading over a 3, especially like if you're going to get a 4, definitely you should grade it because you're going to really retain the value in those things. So anyway, so that's curating. You're deciding what you're going to keep. And my best suggestion, honestly, is if you put all of your keep cards to the side, like literally just separate them out from everything else you have. Just separate them out. And then everything that's over here is the stuff you're going to sell, which brings us into the 6th principle of collecting, which is selling. So here's the hard part. Selling is hard. Like buying is easy. Selling is hard. And this is where most people get stuck, is like, well, what do I do? How do I get rid of the stuff that I don't want? Because quite honest with you, sometimes you're going to buy stuff that you're going to be like, you know, I don't really want to keep it. Like I thought I wanted to keep it, but I don't want to keep it. And that's fine. That's what curating is all about. That's the last principle that we just did. Like it's okay to make a decision and be like, you know, I bought it, but I don't want to keep it. So let me sell it. And here's where people get stuck. You get stuck in what you paid for the card. And I get it. I get it. You don't want to lose money. But this is a collection, okay? This is a collection. And so what I want to do out there right now is I want to say if you want to do a 25 card challenge with me, so I'm going to the Arizona State Card Show on November 8, 9, and 10. That's going to be in Phoenix, Arizona at the Phoenix Convention Center. I'm going to do a 25 card challenge. And what I want everybody to do, if you want to do this challenge with me, I've got a whole setup, like I got a free PDF. If you want that PDF, go over to my Instagram, okay? That's EDI Sports Cards. Follow me and basically send me a DM, send me the PD or the PDF. And I will send you the free PDF on how to do the 25 card challenge. This is going to be for kids. This is going to be for adults. This is going to be for everybody. The 25 card challenge is all going to be about the new way to collect. Yes, the modern way to collect. Basically because the hobby has changed so much over 40 years. How can you be a collector and not lose your shirt? Like how do you actually start to get back into the hobby without basically paying a ton of money? So this 25 card challenge is going to be all about the dollar bin, okay? So what I want you to do as part of this challenge, and it's going to be fun, is how low can you pay for 25 cards out of the dollar bin? So you have to negotiate. You have to say like, okay, it'll be, let's say you go to a dealer and be like, I want 25 cards out of your dollar bin. How much will you charge me? And you need to say it up front. I want 25 cards out of your dollar bin. How much will you charge me? Now, hopefully they're like, well, I'll only charge you 20, or I'll only charge you 15. If you can get it for 10 bucks, if you can get 25 cards out of the dollar bin for 10 bucks, you're already ahead of the game. And that's my point. Now, there's also going to be on the PDF, I'm going to explain what you're looking for, how you're going to go through the 7 principles of collecting in this 25 card challenge. So if you want that free PDF, go over to my Instagram, EDI Sports Cards, hit the follow button, and send me a DM that says, send me the free PD. All right, let's get into selling. So there's a number of ways to sell. The best way to sell is to people you know. That's the easiest way to sell. Literally, people you know, they know who you are, they trust you, you're not going to screw them over, and you're just going to be able to get them the cards that they want, and you can get rid of the stuff that you don't want. That's literally the easiest way. So if you have a whole bunch of friends that are into collecting, this is easy. And then 2, you also have somebody to trade with. So that's why I highly recommend going to local card shows with friends, building a local community that you know, you have friends, you have people that you can talk to. Now, we're going to get to that in the 7th principle, the last principle, as to why a community is also important, but that's one of the ways. The other way is obviously eBay and other third-party apps. But again, you're going to have to know how to price your cards. If you don't know how to price your cards, go watch the last week's episode on how to price your cards. That'll give you the deep dive that you need. All right, last principle. And this one is the most important. Again, principle number 4 was purchasing. That was the most fun. This is the most important principle of all of them. And that is principle number 7, which is exhibition and sustainability. Now, why is principle number 7 the most important? It's because why are you collecting? So we started with 3 questions, which is basically, so I have them right here. So why should you collect cards? Is collecting good or bad? And what life lessons can we learn from building a PC? And so when you get to principle number 7, we're talking about exhibition. Here's my collection. Now, if you have a local community or if you have friends that are into collecting, you now have somebody to show your collection to. That's the whole point. Why are you collecting these cards? You should want to exhibit them. So I did last week, I did a whole, episode on, how to, that you should be a dealer. Basically, one of the reasons why you should be a dealer is because you want to actually display your cards. Now, those are the cards that you're going to be selling, but you're exhibiting your stuff. You want to show your stuff off. If you don't show it off, if you keep it in a vault, I'm not quite sure that's a collection. Again, if you keep it in a vault, it's not really a collection. It's just something that sits in a vault. I don't know. It's not a collection. I don't know what the point of that is. Again, I understand that there's a lot of cards that are worth a whole ton of money, but that's not collecting. And none of you should really be chasing after that. You should not be chasing after that. Start doing a collection, a real collection. These cards are collections. I don't think any of these cards are worth, maybe they're worth a couple thousand, but they're not worth several thousand. They're not worth 10,000 or 12,000. They're not worth 100,000. Again, it's a collection. I'm trying to even find one that might be worth that much. The card that was worth the most amount of money, honestly, that I was trying to sell, and that's one of the cards that got stolen, which was the 1939 Play Ball Ted Williams rookie card. That's one of the cards that got stolen. That was probably the most expensive card that I had. Just the way it is. I had not gotten it graded yet. I was trying to sell it raw because whoever was going to buy it was going to make much more money, at least a couple grand on getting it graded, which again is worth it to them. I just didn't want to put the money out to grade it because I was just like, why am I going to spend money to make money? I don't want it. I just didn't want the card. And so I was in negotiations with a dealer to buy the card, and then unfortunately it got stolen last year in March. So just whatever it is, I just figured let you guys know. But again, this whole collection, I don't know. I have no idea how much it's worth. Again, probably the most expensive card, if I can think about it, is probably this one right now. Oop. Sorry. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So this one's probably the most expensive. That's the Roberto Clemente rookie. So that's probably the most expensive card in all of this. So those are the 7 principles. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that I went through it well enough for you. I hope that you got a lot out of this. Please hit the like button. Also, put a comment down below. What questions do you have about collecting? I didn't go through all of the cards. I thought I would go through a lot more, but to be honest with you, I didn't want to bore you. If there's anything in this collection that you wanted to see, please let me know and I'll show it in later episodes, just so you guys are aware. So this is my basketball bin. This is my football bin. And then this is my hockey bin. Obviously a lot more full. So as you can see, baseball is 1, hockey's 2. I'd say basketball and football are pretty much the same, like a tie. So these are all of the things that I have. And then I also have this. I figured I'd show it to you guys. So this is a autograph picture from Mickey Mantle and I think it's Brooks Robinson. So I'm actually going to be selling this. If you're interested in this, please go over to Instagram, DM me, Mickey Mantle, and we can talk about a price on it if you want it. This is, again, it was signed by Mickey and also Brooks Robinson. There you go. So I want to thank everybody for joining me. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you next week. This is Doc saying, have a great weekend. One show. There's only one show I wanna watch. HOBBYEBI Sports Show. Drop every Friday. Hot take. Where's the market? Behind the scenes. From the card shows to the